Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Babe, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.
Well, we are very fortunate tonight. I have two guests. So we have three of us here, and I'll get together with you. I think we have the one person, Susan Marks, and then we have Philistine, who is from Canada, who was on my show earlier. So I'm familiar with both of you. Let me do a brief introduction about my podcast, and so I'll get you aboard here. This is a live podcast produced from Southern California. I live in Surf City, USA. I'm about 3 blocks from the beach here. And I do this twice a day. I come on in the morning, typically at 10 o'clock, and then again at 7 o'clock in the evening. It's a 1-hour podcast, and those times are all Pacific time. They're on the West Coast of California. And we have lots of people that come in and talk about their cases, and I help them. They help each other, sort of like a family here. Tonight, our topic is Fight CPS and Stop Taking Our Children. I'm your host, Bob Pace. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm a loving father and a husband. I have 6 children. 3 are grown up and 3 are young. And I also have 41 years of marriage experience. So I have a lot of life skills. So I hope I can help you all with your case, because right now we're dealing with something called the CPS system. Every state or every country or where it is, the name be a little bit different. But when I say CPS system, I'm talking about the government entity that is supposed to protect our children from neglect and abuse. They're also supposed to help out families in need of food, shelter, clothing, transportation, educational, and medical, and also to help you with a job. Furthermore, if they decide to take the children away because they're in imminent danger, they're supposed to do what's called family reunification. And it starts off a simple process by a phone call from either a layperson or from a professional that accuse you've done something wrong. The problem with CPS is automatically you're guilty. It's one of those other weird things that you're guilty before you're innocent. So you got to prove your innocency. With that being said, CPS that I've dealt with myself personally, and all you other people out there, there's like 900 people I've talked to. And I've talked to 20 countries and all 50 states. And it's really one thing they all have in common. They've been abused by CPS because CPS is very vindictive. They're lies. They're not transparency. They don't want to help you. And most of us were struggling. You know, we can't afford a professional attorney, and that really works against us. That works for them, because the sole purpose of those entities, not all CPS, but the people that I talk to and myself, is to make money. It's $1 trillion business, and they want to go ahead and put your kids and traffic your kids into foster care and alienate your kids. And both alienation and trafficking is illegal. We don't allow trafficking, but the child protection system gets away with it. all these systems in there. There's horrendous stories. And I have two guests tonight. I'm very fortunate to have Philistine returned, and I have a new person, Susan Marks. So I'm going to start off with you, Susan, and
Hi.
if you can tell me where you're from and a little bit about your case, and then I'll go to Philistine. She'll do the same thing, okay?
All right. Well, hi, my name is Susan and I'm from Livonia, Michigan. I'm outside of Detroit. And I met Philistine many years ago and she was pregnant and she just had her third child and things started going wrong right out of the chute and things didn't add up. So we started feeling that something needed to be looked into, that they were lining up to do something with her baby, which they did. And she probably already told you most of the story. But when I found out what was going on, I told her we got to get him out of there. And I called the hospital and told them, I talked to the consulate for Canada. I hired a, big lawyer here in the Detroit area, said we want that child out of your hospital today. And then the doctor kept wanting to railroad her to take him to his other office. And I said, no, I can't do that. So we ended up, she ended up going back to Canada. Well, then next thing I know, I had the sheriffs here with a warrant to search my home looking for her and her children. I said, why? And she said, well, because they're not enrolled in Detroit public schools. I said, show me the law that says her children have to be in Detroit public school. Well, he couldn't. He saw her van in my driveway and I said, yeah, and that's not illegal either, last I knew. Well, he said, let's go in and talk about it. Well, I tried to just stay outside. It was a nice day. And then he shows me a warrant to search my home for her and her kids because they're not enrolled in Detroit school. Well, that wasn't right one bit, but okay, let's go in. Make sure you check under every drawer. And he realized then when he came into my office, which is in my home, that I'm a colon hygienist. And the problem, what happened with her baby is they were cutting up the child's colon, telling him, her, that he's got this disease. He didn't poop in time. But then they got the court involved and the court went along with it. So this was all getting too crazy, that this is all looking really bad. And I was afraid that they're going to tell her kid's dead, or he's going to disappear. Something was not feeling right about her whole situation. So we had to get him out of that hospital and away from all of it, which we did. And it wasn't easy even after that. So she can tell you more about what happened there, but we understand that there's things going on. And since then, I didn't know it was this big of a deal, $1 trillion operation. I found out more about that before COVID, when we were learning more about what was going on through COVID and all the trafficking that went on through New York. But then it was, Child Protective Services, and you can pretty much put an order for what kind of child you're looking for. And that was scary. So I'm really glad that we got her child away from them. And that was our story. It was pretty crazy, but
now, Susan, do you meet her in Detroit, Michigan? Is that how you met her?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you ever had a CPS case before?
No.
Okay. All right. Philistine, you were on last night, and you're an indigenous Indian. You're the First Nation in Canada. And you were telling me some horrific things about the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the corruption that goes on and so forth, and bouncing back behind between Detroit, Michigan, and is it New Brunswick, Canada, that you're from, Philistine?
Born in Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia. Is New Brunswick a city or a county?
Province, like a state, it's a province.
Oh, New Brunswick is a province.
Prior to the police coming with a search warrant, my kids were in school for 3 years, and each year they got an award for not missing a day at school, and their averages were over 98, 99%. Plus, they left having national.
Okay. Can you get a little closer to the microphone?
Can you hear me okay?
Now better. When you leaned up there. When you're leaned far away, I couldn't hear you. That's okay. Now you're saying that Brunswick, it is a county or a city or a province?
Province.
A province, New Brunswick. I never knew Canada had a province. I knew about Quebec, and I know about Vancouver and Ontario. That's the city. But anyway, I'm trying to learn myself. So you're from the province of New Brunswick in Canada. And then we have Susan, who's from Detroit, Michigan. And both of you met when you were in the United States. And then Susan tried to help you, is what she was trying to do, right?
Right.
And I'm a colon therapist. We both went to school down. So
You're cutting in and out. Try that better there.
Susan and I both are colon therapists.
Okay. You have something in common called a colon. And the colon therapists, are they like a doctor?
Somewhat.
No.
Well, you specialize in that particular part of the body.
So you both are very intelligent and you have a medical background.
Somewhat.
And so what was this hospital? I mean, what kind of people did they have? A medical doctor that had the background in colonthopathy? I mean, did this hospital have that? I mean, how did they determine that they're right and you guys are wrong?
Exactly. I breastfed my son, and they were trying to say that he had a disease called Hirschsprung's. So
now that was something that you volunteered your son to go to. Was this the doctor? Who lined up this hospital and doctor? Who lined that up?
Well, it's where she had delivery.
Okay, that was a hospital you prearranged to have your child delivered at, right? Now, do you have a medical doctor with your medical insurance? Your primary care physician, do you have one?
This was 20 years ago when I had one.
Well, the reason why I'm asking that is I was thinking, why wouldn't the primary care physician spot what the hospital is trying to do that was wrong?
I don't think you had a primary care, but
okay.
She had really good insurance, and she heard them talking outside her door about how good her insurance is. And the next thing you know, this kid's got this wrong and that's wrong. And they had said he had the high bilirubin, so they needed to put him under the UV lights, but they put him out in the hallway under lights, and they didn't put goggles over to protect his eyes. And,
so did you ask for a second opinion?
Yes, that's why we wanted him out of the hospital. Because
they were refusing. Now, what was the ground? Who was not saying they would release him? Was it the hospital, or did the social workers get involved?
They didn't get involved till after we took him out of the hospital. And then they said he wasn't, that the other kids weren't enrolled in Detroit schools, because this all was, that was supposed to be around Labor Day that the kids would have started school, but she had already left town by then. They got the court involved. They wanted to do a biopsy. They said all of this was based on he did not have a bowel movement within 24 hours, they said. So therefore, the doctor's telling her now that means he has Hirschsprung's disease and he wants to do a biopsy. What?
Well, maybe you could have interjected and tell the doctor, I need to have my, if you didn't have our primary physician. What is kind of an interesting thing is that usually people, when they go in the hospital to have a baby, they have a primary care physician lined up, a pediatrician. And maybe they could have bought that pediatrician to give another opinion.
Did you have one at Oakwood, Philistine? Didn't you start at Oakwood?
Pediatrician doesn't know anything about the colon.
Well, the thing that was disturbing was that they were making a big deal out of when that baby had his first bowel movement, but based on they said he did not have it in 24 hours, then that meant he had this disease.
Okay.
So now to us, if it's that important, why is that not a legal document or something? Really, they should have had it marked down. Well, we didn't know the exact time he had it, but we noticed a soiled diaper at 1 a.m. and that was 25 hours after he was born. So does he have Hirschsprung still? But by Friday, they were hauling her into court and having a judge decide against her to let that doctor go ahead and do a biopsy on a 5-day-old baby.
Okay.
Not right.
I want to say hello to one of my regulars in my room. Her name is KK Richardson, and she's from Brooklyn, New York. She has gone to get a law degree. She has a bad case in New York, and she has had several court hearings this past month, and she's got CPS on the ropes. They're trying to take her child away. She also does a live podcast. I'm happy to see you, KK Richardson. Also, one of the members of the room, Tessa, would love to talk to you, and we need your phone number, email, or how Tessa can get a hold of you. So if you can text that to me, let me put my phone number up here on the screen. KK, if you could text that to me to my phone number, that would be great, KK. I have two ladies here, Phil Stein from a previous show, who has a really kind of strange story about her child being abducted. And I have a fellow doctor. They both are doctors, and they are trying to, I guess, protect their child. So when both of you, now you can, either one wants to speak to answer this question, but when you left the hospital, where did you go from there in Detroit? Where did you go there from there?
I went to my godmother's.
And your godmother's was located where?
That was me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She says I'm her godmother. And I'm godmother to all her kids.
Where were you at the time? You were in Detroit, right?
Right. I was at my home in Livonia.
Okay. Now, did you think about maybe getting a second opinion, get a doctor, a pediatrician to look at this?
Yeah.
Well, at that point, she decided it would be better for her to go back to Canada and get away from these people here. And that's what. Go ahead.
We previously went to Ontario and dropped off two of my other sons because they threatened to take them and raise if I didn't sign.
Now, when you say who threatened you, was that the Canadian CPS or the Detroit CPS?
Detroit CPS. And
what jurisdiction does Detroit have in Canada?
None.
In America. And the two doctors came. I had the two older brothers there visiting the hospital. They threatened me, told me I had to sign paperwork or they were going to take my two older boys and raise them.
Now, is this the hospital administration, or was this the CPS workers from Canada or the CPS workers from Detroit?
Doctors in Detroit. I wouldn't sign.
You're cutting out, Philistine. I'm so sorry. I don't know what the problem is, but try that again.
The two doctors in Detroit told me to sign the paperwork or they were going to raise my other two boys. So
okay, stop there for a second. You have two other people in custody. Now, who was saying that it threatened you to sign them? Was that the CPS in Canada or the CPS in Michigan?
I have no children in custody.
Well, then what were they threatened that they raise your other two children?
20 years ago, when I gave birth to the baby, doctors came into the waiting area, threatened in my baby's stomach, and I refused. So Susan and I took the two older boys in Canada. Then we went back to America and had a meeting with these demons.
You had to go to court too.
Well, now, wait a minute. Was this the CPS or the doctors in Detroit, Michigan?
Two other doctors.
They were all in cahoots.
Okay. Why do you guys talk to CPS? I mean, have you thought about having an attorney?
Well,
not at the time.
Okay, this is the mistake a lot of us make, including myself. Your first step is that anytime you get involved with this terrible, terrible government agency, is you need to find an attorney. You need not to talk to them, not to let them in your home. They need a warrant before they can do anything anyway.
They
And
came to my house with a warrant looking for her and her kids.
Okay.
And then the social worker showed
Did
up.
you read the warrant? Did you read the warrant?
Yeah.
Was the warrant legit? Because a lot of warrants are fake copies that have been altered.
Well, I'm no expert, so to me it
I
was
know that.
pretty legit.
Okay.
Two
I'm trying to
officers
tell you
showed
what a
up.
warrant looks
We
like
said,
out there.
"Sure."
It has got to be on a piece of paper. And the most important part is it's got to be a wet signature by a judge, and a hand stamp is got to be embossed over the signature so the signature rises.
Well,
And furthermore, it's got to have the date, and it's got to be on a date that the courts are in business. Holidays are in the week, or holidays the weekends are not. They can't get a warrant on those days. So if they
Yeah.
don't have the correct date, they use somebody else's. The other thing they have to do is how it's addressed. Is it addressed to you as the parent and charged with negligence and abuse, or one or the other? And are the children listed? And furthermore, are there specific instructions of what they can do or what they want to do? See, that's all got to be on that legal documentation. So did it look very legitimate to you guys?
It did at the time. I mean,
Okay, so when it
20
said,
years
now what
ago.
did the warrant say at the time? What did the warrant say at the time?
I don't remember. It's 20 years ago. I don't remember.
Okay, did it say to turn over the children, or it says to talk to them, or they just say I can search your home? I'm just curious what the warrant said.
Well, all I know is they were looking for the kids because they weren't enrolled in Detroit Public Schools when school started. That was the story.
They weren't enrolled because you went to Canada with them, right?
Yeah, I asked them, I said, well, where in the hell is the law that says those kids have to be enrolled in Detroit? Where's the law, you know? And of course, there isn't one. And then eventually, after all the nonsense, I told them, I said, she left the country. She was from Canada. She has no way to support herself here. She has a house there and family there. So she went back to Canada.
Okay.
Well, then they searched and found and sent protective services to Canada. So then they caught up.
Must have some type of agreement or arrangement between Michigan and Canada, which I don't think that they do, because see, Canada is still considered a country. It's not a state.
I know.
There is an agency that transports kids from state to state, but not from state to country.
Well, maybe from country to country, and that's how crooked these people are. They have a global operation. There's no doubt. So
Well,
it doesn't
it's illegal.
surprise me at all.
It's illegal because
Of course it's illegal. So is child trafficking. That's not stopping them.
well, the problem is that most people
For all
don't look at attorneys. They don't think you get an attorney because it costs too much money.
Well,
And
of
now
course
they're trying to fight it themselves. And so anyway, they came to Canada and threatened to take your two boys when you had this third child, right, Philstein?
Oh, your connection's bad.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Philstein, do you hear us?
Yeah, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you. There's something wrong with your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear you now. I don't know if you're too far away from the microphone. Is your microphone in your phone or in your computer?
Well, my computer I used last night and it's not working tonight, so I have to use a cell phone.
Okay. Well, it's very important with a cell phone that you have the microphone of the cell phone near your mouth, not next to it, but that's in order so we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So Susan sent me the search warrant, and I sent it to the chief of police in Detroit, who was my best friend at the time. And he said he's never read such garbage before. He knew me personally. He knew I didn't smoke, drink, or do drugs. He knew how I raised my kids. It was all made up. And
Okay.
then when I went to Canada, they sent 2 other workers. And when they came into my home, they were more worried about the new stuff that I had. How did I get a new fridge, a new washer, all the appliances? That's really none of their business. My father got me everything. He ended up getting fired for drinking and driving with his own children. It was nothing but a money grab. They weren't expecting Susan and I 40 years of colon therapy qualifications. They just thought I was some stupid little native girl that was very quiet. And I was very quiet. I let people put their feet in their mouths, and that's exactly what they did. And when I got in front of the judge, she asked me if I had anything to say. And when I told her I went to school down in Florida, Kissimmee, and got certified, and I told her some other things, she told me to sue the hospitals and the doctors.
Wow. Again, you still didn't have an attorney, right?
No.
When you're under that type of stress, the last thing you're thinking about is getting a lawyer. That was 20 years ago.
Well, I understand that, but here's the reason behind it. If you're going to do open heart surgery, that's
Yes,
how dangerous
did this last
CPS
night.
is. It's open heart surgery. You're not going to have a plumber cut open your body cavity, take your heart out, and cut it open and repair it. You're going to have
lawyer is the last thing on my mind. 20
I know
years,
that.
20 years
I'm not
now,
trying to say they're Tories, but
I don't
tried
want to sue anybody.
I'm not
I'm
asking
not
you
a
to sue
hungry
anybody.
money person.
I'm not trying. You need someone to fight for you that has a background in.
You do. But when I went back to Canada, the only thing I was worried about was focusing on my son's health because they cut him 10 times.
I know you told me that. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was a full-time job there.
oh yeah, they didn't know, Susan, that, I could fix the child. God taught us how to fix, and he's healed. He's 20 years old. He's never had a problem with his colon.
Okay. Okay.
Thank God for that.
I know.
Okay.
They wanted to. They wanted to.
Now let's turn the clock 20 years forward. Now your son is now 21.
He's 20.
Okay. What about the twin? How old are they now? The twins.
What? My sister's children? They stole one?
No. I thought you had 2 twins early on, and your son was your 3rd child. I'm confused now.
She had 2 boys, and then she had the baby.
Right. She had
They
the
were
2
twins,
boys.
but
What
they
happened
weren't
to the
twins.
2 boys? What happened to the 2 boys?
She kept them.
I kept them.
Well, I
None of us
understand
are
that.
vaccinated.
How old is the 2 boys? How old are they?
20, 26, and 28. And none
Okay.
of us are vaccinated. We've all gone to school. We've all graduated.
There's no law that I know of that says you have to be vaccinated. In fact, President Trump said today that the military men that were forced to be vaccinated don't have to. He signed into law that you don't have to be vaccinated. That is a choice that everybody made in the world, whether you want to be vaccinated or not. And it was not a cure-all. It was all it was. Is supposedly when you had the attack of the virus, it wouldn't be as bad as without it. It's sort of like the flu viruses, the flu vaccinations. It's supposed to be a lesser damage to it.
But that didn't work either.
Yeah, I understand. But this is not a debate about viruses or about President Trump.
No.
I'm talking about, you got 2 boys that are now fully grown. Why is CPS still asking you about your 2 boys?
I have 3 boys. They all live on their own. And when my youngest child was 13, he was kidnapped for 90 days.
Now, is that your 4th child or 3rd child?
The same child I gave birth to 20 years ago in Michigan.
Okay.
He was kidnapped at 13 for 90 days, and Child Protective Services left him in that house with a military man that messed his head up.
Now, was that boy that was kidnapped for 13, was that in Michigan or in Canada?
In Canada.
Okay, I'm just trying to follow us along. Okay, you left with your two boys to Canada. Then you had a third child. Now, how old is that third child?
He's 20 now.
Okay, so why is CPS involved with your third child?
Well, CPS is in charge with them, is involved with them now. His girlfriend and him, they're not married, sorry to say. She's been in and out of care her whole life. So my son at 13, when he went through the trauma of being in care, not in care, but in someone else's house because he was kidnapped, Child Protective Services should have taken him out. That's what the judge said. And they didn't. They left him there for 90 days to get abused. So now he's 20. He has a child that's 6 months old.
Okay, now I understand what the problem is. It's the 6-month child that your son's having because CPS keeps records. If you're in foster care as a child, or if you're in foster care, you'll always be tracked by CPS. For instance, I have a lady from Richmond, Kentucky. Her name is Faye Manley, and she was in and out foster care 5 times. Her mom was so bad, she tried to get the money just by having her in foster care. But somehow she survived. She was molested. She was raped. She was tortured to stand on sharp rocks for long periods of times. But after she got her high school degree and got a college degree, she decided to have a family. So she had 2 children. Well, CPS found out about it and started attacking her. CPS has a bad track record of keeping records on everybody. Anytime you're involved with, it seems like the law is always after you. I mean, I have had a hard time finding a decent job because my involvement with CPS is still my records. You have to clean up because they will do it. For instance, if my children grow up to have children themselves, there's a good chance that their children will be taken into foster care.
Damn.
That's how corrupt CPS is. And that's what you got to worry about. You got to worry about not only your son, if your son's child grows up and that child has children, he'll be tracked by CPS. CPS knows how to work the system. It's all about money. It's all about money. In fact, in 1994, President Bill Clinton signed into law the Incentive Act, where they give additional money to CPS agencies for having the child adopted in foster care. They don't believe in reunification. In fact, reunification is on the back burner because why? It takes a year for reunification to take place because the classes you take, the domestic violence classes, the drug rehab, is a year-long class. So you're going to be at least 1 year in CPS if your family's broken apart.
This is why I'm
Is there
trying
any way
to put down as guardianship.
Well, the first thing you need to do, your son needs to clean up his record.
Yeah.
Also, I'm afraid that your son should never answer the door. His girlfriend should never answer the door. You should never answer the door. You should never let him in your home. That's one thing.
Those 2 kids think that Child Protective Services, that they're going to work the system. They're in denial.
Mm-hmm.
They think Child Protective Services is their best buddies. Okay?
Okay.
Not true. That's all they do.
They're not. They're not your best buddies. They're going to end up. They're going to end up trying to. See, here's the thing: it's real easy. I had a case. My children were being paid by the state of California to the Orange County CPS, the Child Protection Services, $20,000 per child per month. That's $60,000 they got for 3 years. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I'll say.
There was nothing wrong with us as parents. We didn't have anything wrong with us. Our children were not in danger and they're stolen. They took advantage of me because at that time I lost my job at age 60 and I had to sell my home because I had to hire Vincent Davis, who you heard at the beginning of my podcast. And he got my kids back. Unfortunately, one of my children was buffaloed by a CPS worker taking revenge because she committed perjury on the stand and she wanted to get back at Vince Davis and us family. And so she told our daughter, emancipate from your parents. You can divorce them at age 12, seal your name, change your name, seal your birth certificate, get a new birth certificate, put your foster care parents are adopting you, and get a secondary Social Security card so you can milk a Social Security, another kind of money. It's all about money. I don't know how many times I've heard everybody talk about it, all centered around money.
Yep.
I mean, in Richmond, Kentucky, there's $1 million unaccounted for. They found one guy that works in the Richmond County CPS there, and he had $400,000. So they got him, but there's still $600,000. They can't find out what happened.
Well,
Money
what
is
about all the kids that are misplaced?
well, that's true. We
And
have
not-
kids missing. We have money missing. Now we have a new administration. I don't know if Elon Musk is going to check out the corruptness of CPS, but he's supposed to look into all this wasteful spending. We
I'm
spend
sure-
so
I'm
much
sure
money,
he's
and we're
look-
always bankrupt.
I'm sure he's going to look into it. He wants them all chipped. He wants all the kids chipped so he can have a little GPS on all the children. Yeah. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him.
Yeah, I don't know. I've
I don't
heard
think
this
so.
rumor about chips into people. I just can't believe that is the case. A lot of rumors, a lot of storytelling is out there. I don't know what to mean. There's the fake news, the social
a
news, the cultures out there. There's the gypsy culture. There's so much going on. So I have to weed through the forest and look at fact. I know firsthand myself what happened with me. I know what happened.
Well, I'll tell you what's happening with my brother, right? I told you that I fought and fought for his daughter to get out of foster care. Since I've been on the show, he has his daughter. Child Protective Services in Ontario wants to take the daughter to Walt Disney World, and we all know what Walt Disney World's about. She's
I
10
don't know.
years old.
I've heard rumors. I don't know firsthand.
Well, my brother does not want her to go anywheres. Our family does not want that precious little princess, and he had to hire a lawyer because she's 10 years old and she was molested and raped.
Yeah, I believe that.
She should have gone to me or somebody in the family, not to a foster care. I have 11 brothers and sisters. She should have gone to me. I'm the one that took care of mom for 10 years and dad for 13.
Well, the problem is you have your family that is hurting themselves because they're very corrupted and believe things and they're doing stupid things. You have an agency that takes advantage of that. You have an agency that's taking advantage of that. And it's all about money.
Can I ask a question, Bob?
Yep, go ahead. Shoot.
Let's go back to how can her son Josh change those records or get those records cleared so we can end the nightmare so it's not a lifelong and every generation long issue with CPS for them.
Well, the first step, I'm afraid you're not going to hear it, but you got to get an attorney.
Okay. So
And the reason why you need to get an attorney, it's a very complicated process. Also, you're going to have to spend 60 hours on the internet, and you have to phrase your question right. You want to put the city, the state, and the letters CPS all in a row there. Then after that, you want to describe what you're looking for. Clean my records. If you put the name of the city, the state, and the letters CPS, and then put clean my records, you'll find your information or the procedures to clear my record up. They'll tell you the steps. I know that you have to file a form. It's got to be the right form on the right stationery, and it's got to be typed, and it's got to be served to not only, I think it has to be served to the court and to the CPS agency.
Well, this has been like a generational curse. The RCMP came when I was just a child.
Uh-huh.
And my mother was pregnant with my youngest brother. Father hid me in the cellar. The RCMP came and took all my brothers and sisters, put them in foster care where they all were molested and raped, more by women than men. And then when one of my sisters had her first daughter, the hospital, Child Protective Services tried to steal her. Then she had a set of twins. They kept her drugged up. They stole one of the baby boys. We're still looking for him.
Yep.
And when she had her third son, they tried to steal him.
Yep. Well, you're talking now about what has to be changed with the CPS system. Now, for 15 months, I've offered suggestions what has to be changed. And the biggest change, or the people are going to make the change now, I can't speak for Canada because I do not know how the Canadian government works.
They're corrupt.
Well, okay, so is the United States government. But what you need to do to make changes within the United States, you have to get the Congress, the senators, and the representatives to hear your story. You need to go to the Capitol, and you need to have a senator or a representative have you take the floor to talk about what you want to make changes. Changes are made all the time, but it's got to be done with the Congress or the senators, and they have to vote to have it approved. The only way changes are made is the changes through Congress. Now, even Trump has a lot of ideas he wants to make changes. And maybe you can write to Trump. Maybe he will read what you have to say and tell them how important it is that you make these changes. Because CPS has to be accountable for their actions.
I'm in Canada, and Trudeau, when he was teaching, molested his own student who lives in Michigan now. So I don't think Trudeau wants to hear anything from me, and I don't want to deal with that.
I don't know. I mean, the only thing is the Parliament that runs your government in Canada?
Yeah.
Is that how your government's run, is by Parliament?
Yes.
Okay. So it's the same kind of government that the United Kingdom uses, Great Britain. Okay. England. Okay. Well,
the provincial government and federal government is corrupt. Last night, I told you 30,000. It's 300,000 that the Service Canada owes me. And when I gave him the documentation 10 times, they lost it 10 times. And the shadow government reached out to me and told me they were going to put me in jail. I said, you know what? Don't threaten me with 3 square meals and a good time. So if you looked up my information, they only have that I called in once. And it was with an attorney who sexually harassed the hell out of me, and I never got my money. Still today.
Okay. We have a woman that called in or texted in. Her name is Reese Angela. She says, please, I had a tape interview with Cynthia. Now, I don't know who Cynthia is. Please ask her to call me or text me, and she has the number. It was about 3 years ago. I still very much need someone to at least give me 50-50 with my child. She's been stolen by her sexual abuser. Please, Cynthia, I know she'll remember my daughter disclosed her dad's sexual abuse. I don't know who Cynthia is, Reese, but did Cynthia work for Vincent W. Davis? Because I've only been doing my podcast now for 15 months. It's not been 3 years. And where about are you located, Reese? What country and so forth? I'd like to help you if I could. But I need to know where you're from and how I can help you out there. Now, we have had a lot of messages come in tonight. Geez, boy, oh boy. Let me see here. Akimas, I know that people can read these text messages. People are reading them. So Akima has said a lot of things there. And she's trying to help you both there. She's trying to help other people in the room. And then we got the rooms have finally come in here. StreamYard had trouble with the rooms, and now they're starting to come in, and now they've clouded all my messages here. Kima says, I'm so confused how they can cross a boundary to her territory. They have no jurisdiction. Yeah, I agree with you. Kima is saying, how does Detroit CPS cross the boundary? I mean, Canada is not a state.
Just a quick phone call. That's all they have to do. They had an Amber Alert out. All three of my children were in such danger. Just a phone call. They've been smuggling children from Canada, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. I can only say those two provinces because I have the receipts. The butter box babies. They've been doing it for years.
Okay. Well, that is a hard one because now you're going to have to get the government of Canada involved with the government of the United States. And boy, that is a tough one.
We're safe. We're okay. What I'm saying. My son is an adult now, but they still harass the hell out of you.
Well, what you need to do is you do restraining orders. Did you know a restraining order is just not on your spouse or a neighbor? It could be on an agency. If the agency is harassing you,
Really?
you can request a restraining order. Now, a lot of people don't forget about that. You know, all you have to do is call the police department and say, I want to have a restraining order against these people. Now, what happens, you got to prove your case when it comes time for trial. But you can have a temporary restraining order. They have to leave you alone.
Huh.
I had called on me 100 times in 1 year.
I believe you.
3 times a week they were coming and bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
3 bathroom home, 5 bedroom home, swimming pool, hot tub. I had people braiding my children's hair, and they were just coming in because they were crying. Well, when you braid a child's hair and they're tender-headed, yeah, but they were coming all the time wanting to see, how we were living and what's going on.
Why do you allow strangers into your domain?
I already told you how my house was set up. As soon as you walk in the driveway, there's a huge pergola where the hot tub is, curtains. Upstairs, there's the deck.
Well, what you got to have to do then, you got to have some way where you put a barbed wire fence around the perimeter of your property.
Well, they stole my home. I own 90% block. Okay. So now I live on a farm with gates.
Well, I understand that. But the problem is what you're talking about now is, and have you called for police protection?
What? The same police?
Well, call the National Guard. Call the, I don't know what, I can't help you, ma'am, because I didn't have a case in Canada. And it sounds like to me that the Royal Canadian Police and the Prime Minister and all the government in Canada is very corrupt.
Listen, I'm only telling you my life.
I understand that. But is there more than one person in Canada right now? There's probably millions of people in Canada.
I'm telling you my life, that I have been blacklisted.
You got to get a petition going where you get people that have the same thing happen to them, and you got to fight it. You got to go on radio stations. You got to go on TV stations.
They will not me. They will not interview me. I am blacklisted.
Until you have tried it, how do you know?
I've already tried it.
Well, you may have to try it 10 times.
I used to be in the newspaper all the time with my clinics and my natural healing and the doctors that I brought into the country from all over the world. Okay. Because I was the whistleblower about the power station across the street killing us, they blacklisted me on the media. Okay. And I told you when I moved to Toronto, at the time, I was the highest paid model. I had to leave the country because they stole my van. The police and the fire department were stalking me. So I lived in Ontario for a couple of years. I moved to the States so I could get educated and not raped or killed.
I want to address Chew Baby, who's been on my show before. My podcast is around the world. I'm open to anybody that has a serious CPS problem. And I do try to help you because some of the same things in the United States do work in other countries. I had a lady from South Africa that had talked to me, and she got some help, and she was able to get her child back. So anybody that has a CPS case, I don't care which country you're in, I'm going to try to help you with advice. But in your case, Philistine, your case is astronomically hard because you got the whole painted picture that Canada is so corrupt and that they do this to everybody in Canada. Now, I would think that you can round up enough people if they had the same thing happen to them. You know, if you guys got together numbers work. Numbers work.
I know that numbers work. My sister is dealing with the loss of her twin son, dealing with the crazies, because that's what they are. They're crazy. They hide in the woods, and I told you.
Okay, I like to stick to the CPS. How can I, right now, you have no child under the age of 18 right now. So
No,
how can I help you with a CPS matter for children under 18?
I have a grandson who is 6 months.
Okay, all right. So what is the problem there? What can I do to help you out there?
Well, I'm already doing it, I guess, but I just want to tell people.
Are you trying to get guardianship? Or why is your son not able to have his child with him? Why did they take the child away from him?
They have the child.
Okay, but why did they take the child? Did they tell him, charge him with something?
They never took my grandson. I'm trying to.
I'm not talking about your grandson. I'm talking about his son. You said his son's
That is her grandson.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the
I am
story
so confused right now because I want to talk about the children of 18. And right now, there's a lot of people that have come to this room that have not addressed or helped them. And right now, they're very upset. They're very anxious.
Well, let's let them have some time now then, and let them talk to you, because
well,
you
I'm trying to let everybody talk here, but I thought we had a CPS case with a child under the age of 18. Now, you said that your son has a son, not your son, but your son has a son that they stole. And now I'm trying to ask you what the details of that are. How can I help you there?
No.
That was my sister's twin baby that they stole.
Okay. How can I help you there with your sister's baby?
You can't. I'm just trying to let people know.
Okay. I think people already know what the situation is. And
I'm talking about when you're in the hospital. I'm talking about.
Well, the first step is I have 5 rules. And one of my rules says you do not talk to social workers. You do not talk to a policeman. You don't let them in your home. You don't let them in your life unless you get an attorney. And I'm telling you, you got to get an attorney. That is the strength of anybody's case. You can talk to anybody in this room. If you got a court-appointed attorney, you got to kick them in the seat of the pants and make them work for it.
Child or grandchild, they should have some type of document so that CPS can't come in.
That's hearsay. Documents are hearsay. You need the author in court. You need to have a court order.
Go in March to get something in writing stating that I have joint custody so that they don't get my grandchild.
Well, you can't get that unless you get a real attorney. That's the problem. Your weakness in all your case and all your fighting is you not had a real strong attorney.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Well, you did help in letting her know that in order to stop the generational problem with CPS, she needs a lawyer. They need to get those records cleared or changed or deleted or something.
They will haunt you forever. They will haunt you from generation to generation. Because these people are evil. All they want to do is make money off you. And so they're going to keep the records. They found out if you knew how to get $1 trillion, would you not keep still doing the same system? If you're making $1 trillion right now, would you not use the same system how you made your $1 trillion?
That's what they're doing.
You don't have a government agency that scolds you or tears after you. No one is a watchdog.
They're all
CPS,
working
they're
together.
not watchdogs.
Yeah.
It's just like right now. Did you know that the Navy can submit an invoice for a toilet seat, not a jet plane toilet seat, but a toilet seat in the barracks, and the government very quickly pays them $15,000. And now
Yeah.
our government every 6 months is saying, "Oh, we're out of money. We need to raise our debt, or we need to," they're
Yeah.
out of money because they give money freely. Right now, there's a cult in Utah, a religious cult, and they get millions of dollars every year to develop alternative fuel. And 10 years now, they've not developed one drop of alternative fuel. But every year, they convince the government to give them millions of dollars to finance their building. And there are so many wasted spending in government. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What Child Protective Services if that's not a cult?
Well, I'm
Yeah.
not going to label them a cult because
Well,
it's not them. A cult is someone that has a following of a group. Nobody follows CPS. CPS manipulates people to give money.
on drugs. They're all unfit. The three workers.
Well, okay, that's a different topic. Again, I want to keep specific. I want to talk a child. Let's see what some of the people have because
How
right
come
now I have 4 minutes left to wrap it up tonight. Okay, so let me see here.
Children?
I know, but Chew Baby. Let me see here. Akima says it depends on what state you're in and what service, what safety plan you have to determine the reunification. Because my previous case, I reunified in only 36 days. Well, that's good. I thought it was a year because if you take domestic violence or you're in a drug treatment, it's a year-long program. So that's where I was getting a year there. And then let me see what else is here. I'm trying to, some other people here. I'm really worried about that one person that's trying to get a hold of Cynthia. I don't know who Cynthia is. Let me see if I can find that person there. Yeah, Reese, Angela, if you're still in there, she said 3 years ago that somebody named Cynthia was helping her out, and I don't know who that is. Yeah, Chew Baby did say one thing. My husband had open heart surgery for a aortic replacement valve after he dropped in an emergency room during the height of COVID. We definitely made sure he had a great surgeon. Well, that also applies with CPS. That also applies with CPS. So I'm glad you shared that in there. All right, I've gone through all the comments. Akima wrote a lot of comments there, and I appreciate all of you, including you two guests, because you did tell me something really awful now in Canada. I've had maybe 6 other people from Canada that have called in, and they told me about their problems. But it's hard to believe that everybody in Canada that's in government, that's your Royal Canadian Mounted Police and everything, is all corrupt. I don't know what's going to be, but I can't fix the world. I would love to see the world turn around and treat one another like they want to be treated. I have an old Indian saying, you probably know this one: never judge a person till you walk in their moccasins, because you never know what the people have experienced in life. And another golden rule that I have is that you want to treat other people how you want to be treated. And money is the evil of everything. Money, it seems to destroy people. And we need to treat one another with love and respect. And CPS has to be investigated. Now, I only hear the negative story. I've only had 4 stories of people come in here. There are 4 social workers. One was Carol from Maryland, who talked for 40 minutes. She's a clinical psychiatrist. She had 16 years of training. 6 months of training in Maryland. But that was one of 4 people. Now, I've already talked to over 900 people. You don't know how many people have been in this room. There are maybe 2 or 3 people that talk in this room. There's another 5 or 6 people that text me, and then behind the scenes, there's another 10 people that say nothing. So there are a lot of people, and they all have something in common. They all have something in common, and that is the knowledge. They don't have the knowledge of how to fight CPS. And then secondary, it's the income. At first, I tried to fight them myself, and I did not have the money. So I quick sold my home so I could hire an attorney, and that took a lot of money. And I got my 2 boys back, but didn't get my daughter back. So I know what you're going through. All you mothers out there with children, all you fathers out there with children. I want to help you. I want to tell you things that, are maybe something that I found along the line. One of the things is a lot of people forget about their records. You need to clean up your records because they'll come back to haunt you. I think it'll come back to haunt you looking for work or a job. Or your children. Your children are going to be followed. It's sad.
Yeah,
It's sad.
It's wrong.
Yeah, it is wrong. It is wrong. But you can fix it by just looking up an attorney and say, how do I clean my records? Or go on the internet and spend 60 hours. Your city, your state, the letters CPS, and how to clean your record. How to clean your record. And you'll see all the steps in there.
All right. Well, appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I want to thank both you ladies. And don't get me wrong, I hope I gave you your chance for your forum tonight. I was happy to meet you there, both of you. And Philistine, to see you twice, that's great. But I want you to protect your grandsons, children. And to do so, you have to tell them not to talk to social workers, to not deal with social workers, unless you are using an attorney. Your attorney is your key to your grandson's success of raising his children. So I want to thank all the other people. Chew Baby, thank you very much for your comments, and thank you for coming in here in there. Akima Richardson, KK Richardson, thank you for your comments and so forth. And that one lost soul there, I wanted to know who Cynthia is, Reese Angelina. I want to help you there, so please call in tomorrow. Now, I'll be on tomorrow, Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Everybody is welcome in my room. All I ask is that people please respect one another, and then it keeps it to CPS, how it can help your children under the age of 18. So God bless you all, and thank you again. And this is Bob Pace. There'll be a brief message from Vince, my attorney, and this is Bob Pace signing off.
Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Okay, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.